we're doing today, attract passive income followers. I have my main man here today, Tyrone Shum from OutsourcingLive.com. Now, I'm going to go ahead and Tyrone a master of outsourcing. And we're going to get some insight today about why outsourcing is good for your business. And we're going to start from the beginning. So first, I'd like to say thank you for coming on today, Tyrone. How's it going down there in Australia?
It's great. Thanks so much for having me on this call, Abdul. And I guess I just want to say thank you for all your listeners to be listening to this. So it's exciting to be here as well. Australia's going well. It's been pretty cool. It hasn't actually been summer down here. It's supposed to be. December, January, February is usually our summertime. It's been more like a mild winter for us right now. And I'm not complaining. It's actually good because our summers get too hot down here at times, and it's been pretty good, pretty laid back, I gotta say.
Alrighty. Well, Tyrone, I'm going to start here in the beginning. You know, one thing I like to find out from people who are successful in their internet business is the beginning.
Mm.
And I would just like to ask you the question before we even get into that business. Let's go back to, let's say, your high school days, getting ready to go to college. Who was Tyrone at this time?
Gotta say, there's not much there to be honest. High school days is it's probably the wrong place to be asking me. No, it's all good. It's all good. Back in high school days, I was, I guess you can say, I was an average student. I wouldn't say I'm a top student or anything like that. I mean, out of the 200 odd students we had in our class academically, I was ranked about 60 something. That's pretty average for me. I was okay with that. Sport-wise, co-curricular activities, I was involved in athletics. I love the sporting side of things. So I did athletics, triathlon, cross country, swimming, anything that's to do with long distance marathon or medium running distance type of things. I did that. Activities wise, I did quite a lot of things. I did Duke of Edinburgh, which is known over in England quite a bit. It's a program where you got to go through a rigorous program from star to bronze, silver to gold to do all these different activities. And that just gives you sort of the all round skill base, like knowing how to survive in the wild, knowing be able
Okay.
to coach and be a leader, those kind of things. I did have all that more or less to delve into when I was back in high school. And I guess it was good memories when I look back at it, and I had a lot of fun in high school. So yeah, not much more than that. I mean, I didn't really delve into any internet type of things back in high school because even back then when I was in high school, we didn't really have much connection to the internet. Still had dial-up, and dial-up was too slow, in my
Very.
opinion, back then. Things have changed so much. It's been really, really different since the days I was back in high school. And I just do remember when I first had my it was a big, big IBM computer. It pretty much took up my whole table, literally. And the hard drive was like that big.
Uh huh.
It was massive. And I had this massive big monitor, those big CRT monitors,
Okay.
14 inches, but they were so, so big in the back that it just took up the rest of your table on top of that. And these really old keyboards. So, and it was the DOS days and the Windows 3.1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, in high school, no, excuse me, not high school. I'm sorry, we're going to college. In college, we talked a little at the beginning. Your major was computer science. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Okay. Now, where did you want to go with that, with the computer science degree?
I was always keen and interested in going into computers because I took computers for hard. I worked in computer stores. I also did a little bit of interest in terms of building some websites online as well. But I never realized going to computing was all about programming and logic and all that. And after getting into computers, I realized it wasn't for me. So I did come out with a degree in that because I stuck it out. But the whole reason behind computers was I had an interest in computers, but I didn't really have much interest in programming or development. And it was more or less for me to just get a degree because my parents said, go to the high school, finish that, go to university and get a degree, and hopefully you'll get a good job. So it's that kind of mentality that we've had. Even though my family has a background in business, most of my family, actually all my family members, own their own businesses. And my dad and parents pretty much said to me, yeah, go out, get a good job first, learn
Hmm.
experience, get some that kind of knowledge from the corporate world, then bring it back and start up your own business, which is the reason why I started my own business now.
Okay. Now, before we get to the online business, you said a good point. A lot of parents love their kids to go to college, get the
Mm.
education, get the good job, you know. And you mentioned that a lot of your family members are in business, which takes me to the next question I have. Actually, kind of got your feet wet a little bit in a business, but not necessarily internet business. And I think it's the dragon boat business. Can you talk a
Well,
little bit about
in
that?
actual fact, the Dragon Boat business was my first online business.
Oh, online.
Before that, yeah, before that, I was involved, not involved, but I started up also a vending machine business, which is offline. And yeah, that was a little bit there as well, dabbling in there. I also sold a few things on eBay. So I dabbled it here and there, but it wasn't a serious business until the Dragon Boat business, which became the online business because that business was dedicated, focused on the website and people could buy and purchase items through there. So it was pretty much an e-commerce store there for the Dragon Boat.
Huh. Now, with the Dragon Boat business, was that a successful business? Do you currently have that business now, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah,
And
well, Dragon Boat business was very successful. It was bringing in 6 figures a year, so that was great. I was working part time after I started outsourcing. Before that, I was working a lot of hours in it,
Mhm.
and yeah, I sold the business going back now 2 years ago.
and for those who don't know what a Dragon Boat business, what Dragon Boat is, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, dragon boating is where you got like 20 people sitting in this really long, gigantic boat, and you paddle down like a extent of about 250 meters to about 500 meters, and you're racing against five other boats. Normally, during the Chinese New Year festival season, which is actually
Which
happening
now,
right
yeah.
now, yep, down in Darling Harbour in Sydney, we have all these boats just lined up ready to race down on the weekend, and people will compete each other. You've got pretty much the mums and dads and the little kids that hop on and go for a ride, or you have the corporates, which is the big companies that come in and compete seriously against each other. And then you've got the athletes as well who also compete on the weekends. So it's just that major big event during the year. But over the rest of the year, there are small events that aren't publicized very much out in the public. People know about them, but they're not like out there like the Chinese New Year festival. So long story, I guess, in terms of dragon boating, it's basically another sporting event that people can attend to and also have fun and really compete either at a serious level or just go in there and just socialize.
Okay. Now, did you have to put a lot of time into this business because with you actually ship things out too with this Dragon Boat business? It
Mm.
wasn't just sending out a digital product or anything like that. You actually had to ship out physical products. So
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of physical work. I remember now. Well, that's one of the reasons why I did change the business model because I was spending quite a bit of time in it, shipping out products, making sure that things are right, negotiating with suppliers, customer service, all that kind of stuff. Essentially, what happened was the whole reason why I started this business was because I was looking for a particular paddle for myself,
yeah.
and no one here in Australia was selling it. And to paddles across, it cost me like $250 just for shipping alone for one paddle. The
Wow.
paddle itself was about 300 bucks. So it was almost twice the price to be able to ship one paddle across.
Okay.
So what I did was I had a chat to a few of the team members inside my team and I said to them, "Hey, you guys interested in buying this kind of paddle I want?" It was a very light carbon fiber paddle, increase our speed of the boat, get us better times, etc., that kind of stuff. And pretty much most people agreed. So I said, all right, I'll contact the supplier. We'll buy in bulk. That way we can save on shipping
Mm-hmm.
and ship it all across. So that's what I did. I went and purchased a whole bulk amount and pretty much got myself a free paddle because the first, you get like first 40 paddles or something like that. You may as well sell the rest of them, keep one for yourself, and make some money on the side as well. And that's where it first started. I first imported a whole batch of these paddles, started the business, and people just through word of mouth found out about it too. Now, it wasn't something that I just said, I'm going to set up a retail store. It wasn't something that I just intentionally was going to go down that path to get people come for me in 9 to 5 kind of thing. I made a sort of a strategic move to say I'm going to set up an online website where people are going to see these products so that they can buy anytime, any time of the day, wherever they want, and all online, and it'll be shipped out straight to them. And that's the whole reason why it was set up as online. to online business.
Very interesting. So the and the Dragon Boat business, you're no longer in these businesses now.
No,
Strictly.
I sold them off because I just wanted to focus my time on outsourcing, which is the reason why I started on that one. Like outsourcing was only started because people started asking me about that particular topic. And what happened was when I was running my Dragon Boat business, I was working about 60 hours or so a week. And then I came across Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, which
Yeah,
was
good book.
a very famous book. And that inspired me to start outsourcing and to find other people to manage business. So that's what I did. I pretty much hired my first virtual assistant to manage the business, take customer support, handle any of the things that go on in the back end. I also had a full-time web developer who helped me as well, and pretty much built that business, which brought my hours down from about 60 hours a week down to 15 hours a week or so. And I mean, I was still working the business here and there, handling a few things there, but it was definitely not a full-time load for me anymore because I had outsourced it, a majority of stuff. Now, after that, that's when people went, okay, you've got all this time on your hands. What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing this stuff. And talking about outsourcing, and that's how it came about. People wanted to know more about what I was doing. So I started sharing this information. And basically, that's where it led to outsourcinglive.com.
Okay.
So I decided, oh, I didn't want to keep the Dragon Boat business anymore. So I decided to sell it, cash up, put that money back into my own home, which I bought with that money. And yeah, this is
Wow.
where I am now.
Okay. Good deal, man. Good deal. Now I want to ask you a question. People actually being in the internet business isn't like a common thing. Usually, when you ask someone what they do, they say, "Hey, I'm a lawyer, a doctor, police officer, fireman." What actually attracted you to the actual internet business? What was it that that attracted you to it?
Well, one simple word, freedom.
Ah.
I can go into detail more. No, so I'm just being a bit cheeky here. No, freedom was the main reason why, and it's because I know with my family businesses, because they all run retail stores in all across Sydney, selling quite a number of prestigious brands in their store. They're pretty much trapped between the hours of 9 to 5. Yes, they've got staff. My dad goes to work only probably about a few hours a day or something like that. But still, you still have a physical location which you need to still manage and you still need to go to. Whereas with an online business, I can pretty much work out from anywhere I want. Take my laptop. If I wanted to go overseas, I can work from anywhere I want and it'll still be running and money still be coming in from the business. Systems all set up and my team pretty much just runs all that kind of stuff. So it gives me that flexibility to do whatever I want. Like, take for example, when I got married in July of last year, I took a whole month off and literally worked the 4 hour work week. So I only worked a total of 16 hours for that whole month. I'd even documented on my blog saying that. So
Wow.
that's the reason why I found that, wow, I could actually do this. And online business gave me that kind of freedom and flexibility to be able to do and work from anywhere around the world. And plus, you don't have to worry about handling physical products anymore like I had to with the Dragon Boat business. And everything was all digital.
Okay. Now, Tyrone, I have to say this because I'm in the beginning part of internet business also. And I want to make this sound easy for people because at the beginning of internet business, it isn't just like you put up a website and boom, you got a business. It takes
Oh,
time.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to definitely tell you, honestly, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. If anyone said to me, look, I'll make you $1 million overnight, or, those kind of promises, don't believe them because it's not true. It doesn't happen like that unless you're some kind of genius and you had prepared everything many, many years ago and then suddenly, bang, one night it happens overnight. Yeah, then that's like a one in a billion chance. But realistically, setting up an internet-based business, you need to go through a certain few procedures and also a certain few things and issues that will happen in the business to be able to get to where you need to go. And it depends what type of business you want to go into as well, because there's so many different models that you can go into. Just depends on what you're wanting to do in internet business.
Exactly. Now, we talked a little bit earlier, and I was telling you how I'm with Internet Business Mastery, which is basically a platform where you can learn internet business from beginning
Mm.
to end. But
Well, it's
let's
not
talk.
really an end. It's a continued journey.
Well, yeah, that's true. You're totally right about
Internet
that.
business is never going to end unless you decide to close shop.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit of your mentors. Who guided you in the internet business when you first started? Who did you lean on?
Well, I have to thank you, people like Yaris Darak, from Entrepreneur's Journey. He was my first mentor that I learned from, and also he gave me a lot of insight on how to set up a specific way of internet business.
Hmm.
Then from there, it was Gideon Shorwick. Gideon taught me a lot about video marketing, and he's been a real mentor and also a real close friend of mine as well. And I guess I'd have to say, I mean, Pat, I mean, I work closely with Pat as well. You know, from time to time, we do different things together, and we did the niche site Duel together.
Uh-huh.
So I have to thank him for that as well, because we've learned a lot in that process together. So yeah, there's been a couple of three mentors that I think I'd have to say. I have to admit though, I didn't go through the usual way of just training. I sort of fumbled my way through because I back from a computer science background. So
Hmm.
therefore I already had some knowledge about internet business. I already had some knowledge about building websites, how to set all this up, because I already had my own Dragon Boat business. All I did was just take it online and change and adapt it to slightly to market differently, which is through the blogging model that I'm doing right now.
Okay. Now you mentioned the niche site duel that you and Pat Flynn had. I want to talk about that. Now, you and Pat Flynn, and for those of you who don't know Pat Flynn is another internet blogger, very famous. Um, I would say that you guys are probably on the same level, you know. But first of all, who
Thanks.
won in that duel that you guys? Because the duel was trying to get a page to Google, right? The first page of Google.
Well, I don't know if there was more or less a winner because we didn't actually say who's going to win what. We didn't even have a prize for ourselves. But in all honesty, I think it wasn't really about winning. It was about making the challenge fun so that we both can learn. And at
Okay.
the end of the day, we're both winners because we both learned from something out of this. The whole goal was to put it as a friendly challenge so we could also put it out there so people can learn as well from us. But at the same time, for us to build niche sites so that we can both go out and also do it ourselves in the future and build more of them. In terms of comparison, I mean, like Pat's done exceptionally well with his security guard training site, and that continues to make quite a substantial amount of income. For me, it's been all about learning process, and we've actually taken a lot of these techniques away and help clients with it. So I have a SEO service-based company here in Australia, which I help with clients locally and also internationally, where we help rank their websites on the first page of Google. So for me, it's been a huge benefit in that because I could take this away and help clients implement it to their businesses and also generate income from that. So I've turned it more into a service-based business model, and I still have my own niche sites as well, which are generating other passive income as well.
Now, when you and Pat worked, because you guys basically had classes where you had students and you were teaching them
Yes.
this plan. Did you guys tape that and have plans of selling it later, or it was just you guys did the class and it was done?
Well, we've had a double, or I should say, two course intakes for that called the
Okay.
niche site coaching program. So we had the first round of students who went through there, and a lot of them done really, really well, and they're successfully making some substantial amounts of money. I mean, when I heard from the last student, we had somebody making quite a nice figure, or some online passively, and then a few other students as well in the first round. Second round, same thing. We talked them through exactly our processes and also taught them exactly what to do from there. So yeah, both classes have been successful, and we've heard some really great stories from them. And we still have the forum that's running in there, and they're communicating with each other. But since then, we've just decided to close off the program because both Pat and I are quite on our own businesses because it takes up a lot of time. Honestly, it was a great experience, and we had a lot of fun coaching and mentoring a lot of these students, but we can only do so much. So we
That's
both
true.
sat down and said, okay, look, we've got to focus on what we do best, which is our own businesses, and keep making them successful. Maybe down the track, I don't know. We still keep in contact, but I can't say anything right now because we don't know what we're doing.
Exactly. Now, being that we were on the topic of SEO, how important is it to be on the first page of Google? I know that may sound like a dumb question, but
No,
for
I mean,
those who know anything about internet business, why is it so important to be on the first?
okay, well, maybe let's break it down. What is SEO? People will ask me that. Well, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And all it means is that what we do is we optimize your website to rank on the first page of Google, whether it be the first page or whether it be on the first spot of Google. And there are so many different methods. So many people teach different things, and it just depends on what you believe and what you can works. Basically, from what we understand and what we see is that Google has a few things, and we don't know the algorithm. This is the thing. We don't know exactly what Google does with their algorithm. But we have a hunch. There's so many things that they look at, which is links back to your site. If you've got a lot of those things, it means that your site's quite popular. If it's shared quite a bit, so done through social networks like Google Plus, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And also too, the content. Is it relevant to the topic that you're actually optimizing for? If that content's not relevant, Google doesn't put it on. And you can see that there's been a lot of spamming sites out there just posting up one blog post or one post onto their site and expecting it to be on the first page by just sending backlinks to it. It doesn't work that way anymore. It has to be regular, consistent content. So that's sort of the overall strategy of a search engine optimization site. Now, coming back to your question about how important it is with having a site ranked on the first page of Google, well, put it this way: first ranking on Google, you get around about 40% of the traffic from the first page. So if you're ranked number one on the first page of Google, you get around about 40% of the traffic. So anyone that sees it, it's about 40% of that. Then second ranking, you get about 25 to about 30%. Kind of just drops off dramatically. And then from there, it drops off to about, I think, 10% as well for the third one. These are estimation numbers, but roughly these are what happens. So in terms of numbers, you can see how important it is. If you're ranked number 3, you're losing on potentially 3 times the amount of traffic that you keep getting from first place position. So that's why it's very, very important for any of your businesses, depending on what market you're in, to be ranking on the first page of Google.
Okay. Now, when you were talking about Pat Flynn earlier, you mentioned his security guard site, and if I'm not mistaken, you have a niche site also that has to do with lifeguards. Is that correct?
How did you find that out? I've not publicized that.
I've been doing some investigating. But what I'm trying to get at is this: is that basically it's not necessarily something that you may be interested in. When you find in the site, it's more of something that needs to be fulfilled. It may be a low competition in that certain niche. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, you don't necessarily have to be passionate about a certain niche. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
As you probably know, I do a lot of outsourcing. So for me, I don't spend too much time on these niche sites. I give it really to my virtual team to be able to manage for me. Therefore, for me, I don't really have too much say input on what the topics are chosen. As long as it meets certain criteria, then they just go out there and start building it and start getting traffic and start monetizing it for me.
Really?
So for me, it's not about the passion. I mean, I could go into all the passions of mine. I mean, I love Macs, I love computers, I love talking about sport, snowboarding, etc. Those are a lot of my passions. But things I don't have any websites in those because one, it's too competitive, and three, I'd have to spend a lot of time to be able to develop these sites to get them to where they are. So no, I'm not doing the sites based on my passion. I'm basically allowing my team to go out there, find the markets that they're interested in, because they're the ones essentially building these sites, putting the content on, and letting them do all that. So they can find out which sites they're interested in and where the traffic is, and then go pursue that. So mine's a lot hands-off approach. And I guess, I don't know if you noticed, but when Pat and I did the niche site dual challenge, my perspective was to outsource my niche website, whereas Pat did it himself. So you could see the differences as well. And a majority of time, I came back with results showing what my staff did, this, and this. I really took off a hands-off approach because my time I spend mostly focusing consulting with clients and doing a lot of those other things as well behind the scenes.
Wow. I have to say to the Attract Passive Income followers here that when I even contacted you, I spoke with you once, and the rest of the time that our conversation was me talking to your virtual assistant. And to me, I thought that was very powerful. And to you, it may not seem like much, but I'm like, wow, I'm actually arranging things. This guy can continue to do his time, whatever he's doing with his time, and focus on those things. And the virtual assistant can set up the meetings and all of these things. I was like, that was a powerful thing. But here's the question I have for you. I have a business now myself, and one of the biggest problems I have is finding the right employee. That's a big task. Can you talk about that a little bit? How do you find the right employee?
It's not going to be a set one formula answer for everyone. So what I'm going to share with you, it's just some principles that you can look at, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to how you approach it and how you put it in place, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to be different and every business is going to be different as well. So it takes a bit to find the right person that suits your business. Now, how do you go about finding the right person in the business? Well, first thing is make sure you go to the right sites to find them. If you're going to the wrong sites, then you're going to struggle, because what happens is that you're going to be targeting the wrong people. For example, a lot of people talk about going to Elance, a lot of people talk about going to Odesk and going to those sites to find a virtual assistant or someone to do the work. More than likely, most of the people on those sites are usually contractors or freelancers. Therefore, they're happy to get paid a higher rate, but also to take on other jobs from other clients as well. And it's going to be very hard to find a dedicated person to be able to work for you. I mean, you can find them, it just takes longer time. And that's the reason why I don't recommend really all that much to go to Elance or Odesk on most of the interviews I do. I
Really?
usually say to people, go directly to a job website or a job service finder, which will find you someone dedicated for your business. And I'm talking about people who are looking to outsource directly to people who are going to be committed to your business, like working part-time or full-time for your business, not doing one-off jobs, not doing freelancing type of work. If you're looking for freelancing type of work, then yeah, Elance, Odesk, etc. And that's only for like one-off type of jobs. But when I'm looking at building a business, I want to be able to put full-time staff into my business who will run and manage my business. Like, for example, you just said it yourself. You spoke to my VA most of the time. She knows my systems. She knows exactly what procedures to follow through and knows how to deal with my customers. Therefore, I can be assured to go and do my other things that I need to do that are dollar productive in my business, and she can help manage the rest of the things that I need to be done, e.g., like setting appointment times and stuff like that. So that's basically, you need to have that kind of mindset to change and make sure that you do understand that you've got to go and find people at these type of job websites and also at the type of right places to find them. Now, I'll give you some examples of where to find them. A good site in the Philippines is, for example, bestjobs.ph. That's like basically a job board in the Philippines, which all these employees go on there and post their jobs up there searching for full-time work. These are all locals. And more than likely, if you go and have a look at this website, you'll find people at a much lower rate than you'd find on, say, Elance or Odesk. Give you a comparison. Most of the time, I think I found on Elance, people are charging between $5 to $6 an hour to be able to get the job done. You could probably pick up a virtual assistant anywhere between $1 to $2 an hour. Doesn't seem that much difference, but you know, when you find out and you hire these people directly, it can be a huge saving. And I'm talking on a monthly basis. I'm not talking about hourly basis. So, like for example, $5 a month, $5 per hour spread over a whole month. That's 40 hours a week. 40 times 5 is 200.
Yeah.
Times that by 4, it's about $800 a month.
Yeah.
You could probably pick up a full-time virtual assistant from this job board roughly for about 400 to 450 a month. That's like almost half of the cost.
Now,
So, yeah.
I want to have to address that before we go further, because I'm sure you have people out here that are saying, "You mean to tell me you're going to pay somebody $4 a month? That's not a living." You know, and I know
I'm not,
how you,
I'm not exposing anything, and I'm not putting any of them down. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong. I'm just sharing with you the facts right here, right now. Thing is that this is normal for them because, say for example, if you're living here in Australia and the average wage is about 40,000 a year, 50,000 a year. In the Philippines, you put that as a comparison and equivalent. It is actually there in their money the same. Say you came to me and said, "I'm willing to offer you 100,000 a year job." I'd be going, "You nuts?"
Of
It's the
course,
same
of
principle.
course.
Now, if you offered more and they're happy to take more, then that's fine. But understand that most of the people there are not used to having more than what they think they're worth.
Hmm.
And that's fine. If you pay them what they think they're worth, then that both parties are happy. You're happy because you're able to outsource at a much lower rate, and also too that what they're paid that they're worth on.
Huh. Okay. So basically, you're saying that in the Philippines and other countries, it doesn't cost $1,000 to live for the year in these countries. It's a very very low rate to live. The cost of living is a lot lower than it is in other
Of
countries.
course. And I mean, like, if you compare that to the Philippines, you time 40,000 to 40, it's about hundred and no, that's 1.6 million pesos. Man, I would be living more than a king in Philippines with that amount of money. Seriously. They live pretty well over there if if you had that kind of living. But for them, it's basically enough to cover all their living expenses and also to live over there. And that's the reason why if you pay any more, it'd be a complete shock to their system.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the Philippines. Now, there's other countries. There's China. There's
Mm.
India. There's countries all over the world. Why do you have virtual assistants from the Philippines?
Well, I have tried other countries in the world, like India. I've also tried Romania, and I think I have tried in China. Yeah, I have tried in China as well. And it just didn't work out, unfortunately, because for me, the cultural differences were very, very strong, very challenging, I should say. And
Really?
my first virtual assistant was actually from India. But after doing and working with them for about 2 or 3 months, just things just didn't work out. And I tried it at least times. I'm not going to go into too much detail because
No, 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 no.
people have obviously had their issues with that. So all I can say is the reason why I've been to the Philippines is because one, they're very much raised up in a Western style culture.
I
So
agree.
therefore, they understand exactly how we are, especially from the States. They're bringing a lot of people, expats into the Philippines to train them up and teach them. And most of the universities have the Western style system, the US based system. So therefore, they're trained up with these highly qualified skills, very much like us, and they're just living in the Philippines. So they understand what we're doing. They understand and respect that we have businesses to run. So therefore, they're happy to be working. And all they really want, from what I gather, just from talking to a lot of them, is that they just want a secure job. They're not looking to start a business. All they want to do is have a secure job pretty much for life. And someone who'll look after them, respect them, be honest with them, and just stand up with high integrity. And if you look after them, they'll stay with you for the rest of your life.
Now, okay. So let me ask you a question. When you first started internet business, what you're doing right now with the outsourcing and all your different niches, um, did you start off with a VA, or did you work on it yourself? And
No, I
later.
did. Well, when I had my Dragon Boat business, I carried on my virtual assistant over to my internet business, which is Outsourcing Live.
Okay.
So I basically took that on because when I did decide to start up the other side of the business, she was already with me full time anyway. So I just carried her forward and she just did more things for me and pretty much managed the whole business from that side. And when I did sell the business, then I just offloaded that work and someone else took over, which was the new person who bought the business, and she just took on more work from this side of the internet business. So yes, when I first started outsourcing live, I already had a VA and also a team around me already.
Okay. Oh, now I'm in the USA and you in Australia, so you probably are pretty close to the time zone of the Philippines, correct?
Mm. 3 hours difference.
3 hours. So if I was to get a VA from the Philippines, of course, when it's day here is night there. How would that work? Are they just working a night shift, or what's the situation with that?
Well, it's up to you how you're going to set it up, but this is what I usually recommend to people is to set up the systems in place that they follow a project type of based system, e.g. like Basecamp HQ, for example. And you want to leave them to work at their own rate and their own pace as long as you set the boundaries in place. So if you're going to send a task or a project for them over, be specific about what you want to be done and make sure that you list out all the instructions that need to be completed. But at the same time, make sure you set deadlines, setting boundaries in place so that they know when to finish and when the deliverables were to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to be I mean, the reason why people just don't understand why outsourcing is so powerful is because they end up micromanaging the virtual staff or the virtual employees,
Mm-hmm.
which means that they'll call them every minute of the hour, talk to them, ask them what they're doing, etc., etc. No one wants to be bothered by that. The
Exactly.
whole point of outsourcing to get someone to manage your business is to let them take over. Like I just did that with you. For example, I just let Joanna manage the whole process of booking an interview with you. I know that behind the scenes, there's probably 3 or 4 times you may be back and forth with a certain time. I don't know, but things like that do happen, and that time spent you could be spending doing other things, which
That's
means
true.
that you let the other person do what they do best, which is whether it be a virtual assistant, if they're good at managing their tasks and managing a team or getting administration, let them be good at that rather than you look over them all the time. And coming back to your question about working with different times, well, it's all about setting up the system to be able to send the work off to them. And it's kind of beneficial for you because while you're sleeping, you're getting the work done. And then you
Yeah,
come back in and you'll be able to take over the next part of the stage. And then when you go back to sleep, they're doing the work. Whereas with me, well, they're working concurrently at the same time with me. And therefore, when I'm asleep, they're asleep as well.
exa-
So you've got a win. You can kind of got a more beneficial situation there in that sense. And don't get me wrong, still speak to them, but you don't need to be on. Make sure you don't need to have them literally next to you side by side every minute of the day.
Now, see, that's funny what you said about the macro manage part because are they sending you emails and say, "Hey, Tyrone, I did this today"? How are you making sure that they actually did work today and not just sleep the whole day?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, they send me at the end of the day a daily accountability report listing out exactly what tasks have been completed. Therefore, I can just review the work and see if there's anything. They'll also answer a question where I always ask is any issues or any issues or problems that you're facing with your tasks inside the business. If there is, they'll write that in the comment section there. And then finally, how can they improve their work and also how can they improve the business? So usually they'll leave something there on being involved in the business to improve it and make it better. And that daily accountability comes straight to me to have a look. I don't usually look at it every day. I usually only look at it maybe once or twice a week, but that keeps them accountable to doing what they need to do. And it comes back down to, as I said, setting those boundaries in place because if they're not going to get the work done and you're not seeing the work complete, they're not going to get paid. That's one of my boundaries. I don't usually pay them if they don't get anything done.
Oh, okay.
So you have to set those boundaries. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you set that and let them be fully accountable, responsible for their own work, it's going to be up to them. You put the onus back on them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. And how many VAs do you currently have now, Tyrone?
Two full-time VAs. Yeah, two full-time VAs.
Two full-time
And
VAs.
I've got a team of four with me. So web developer and also full-time web video editor as well.
Okay. Now, I want to give you some time to talk about your outsourcing program. You actually, if I'm not mistaken, you have a course on your site where you actually will teach people about outsourcing. Can you talk a little bit about that? What
Yeah.
that course can offer someone?
Sure. It's funny that you asked me this right now because I'm almost finished the complete upgrade. I've redone all the videos inside Mass Outsource Mastermind this month. So starting of this month, I just decided, okay, it's time to upgrade the information and just completely re-recorded it. So it's everything in there is all brand new.
Mm.
And pretty much inside the course, which shows you exactly step by step the system that I use to be able to but to get my outsourcing team to do the things that I need them to do. So I talk anything from the project management system, the tools that I use to get them to store their training, where to find all their passwords, how to be able to access all the information that they need to complete their work without having to bother me or ask me.
Mm.
And pretty much a system. It's very, very focused on training and systematization. In addition, I also talk about the mindset, the outsourcing mindset, what it takes to make sure that you change your mindset on how to be able to outsource. Because outsourcing is a slightly different game. It's not like as though, oh, I'll just send that work to them and then hope and pray that all work. You've got to actually understand that you're working with a virtual team and that you're building a team that will run your business. And it's an investment in your time and effort to get them trained up correctly. And once that's all done, then hopefully you can step away from the business and let it run itself. So there's a mindset change in there that I talk a little bit about and focus quite heavily on as well. Then I also provide training materials in there. So therefore, if you don't want to train any of your virtual staff, which you don't need to, I provide a lot of training materials inside the course, which you can just give straight to your team and they'll just learn from there. Anywhere from building niche sites to how to set up email systems, how to be able to manage customer support, how to write sales letters, pretty much anything that I've used in my business for an internet business. And I just pass them on to them. And that's why they're able to just watch these videos and then just take action on them. So it's a step-by-step actionable course that I provide for people. And yeah, there's a community in there as well that's keen to share information as well.
Wow. I'm going to have to take advantage of that course because I definitely could use some help with what I'm doing right now. You know.
Sure.
Um, and last question I want to ask you, and it's a little bit outside of the realm of outsourcing, but you have a mastermind group that you're involved in on a regular
Yes.
basis, right? And how many
Yes.
members are in your mastermind group right now?
Four. We've got total of four, including myself.
Okay, and how often do you guys meet?
Once every week, which that when just before you messaged me, I was in that mastermind group. We
Oh,
were
really?
talking about different things inside our group to see how we can help each other improve on this and stuff like that. We all pretty much know our businesses pretty much very, very well. So therefore it's a very close-knit mastermind group and we're able to come together to help each other out and provide information and also critique each other's business every week. Yeah, so it's really, really good in that sense. And I recommend for anyone who hasn't got themselves into a mastermind group to do that because if you're wanting to get out there and start up your own internet-based business, but also to be in the internet space, you really need support. And mastermind groups are great for that because you can share information and learn from each other as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I have one mastermind buddy now, and we meet every Sunday, and we definitely, I've learned a lot and implemented a lot from that to my business now. So I definitely will second that.
Excellent.
Masterminds are very good. Well, Tyrone, I'm not going to hold you. I want to thank you for taking your time out to see me and give your great information about outsourcing. Now, I'm going to put the links and everything at the bottom, but just to reiterate this, how can people find you? What is the best way to find Tyrone Shum?
Sure. You can visit my site at outsourcinglife.com. On there, you'll see videos, information about outsourcing tips, strategies, how do we even outsource videos as well, because that's something that a lot of people struggle on. And I talk a lot about that and provide you on video marketing tips and outsourcing all that as well. If you're interested in joining up to the Mass Outsource Mastermind course, I'll make sure I give Abdul the links down below. Just click on that link down below and you'll be able to sign up to the Mass Outsource Mastermind course as well. And yeah, there's a limited offer right now because I'm going to be, as I said, re-releasing this. So hopefully by the time this video goes out to your members, they'll be able to see a special offer there too.
Okay, okay. Well, thanks again, Tyrone, for blessing us with your presence, and that's all I have.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure to be on the call. And yeah, I wish all your members and also your listeners all the best as well. And hope that they can take action on whatever they're doing in their internet business as well.
Okay, Tyrone. Thanks a lot.